Indigenous people, shine your light, we are equal. I remember the days when our prayers were illegal. I remember the days when being Indian was lethal. Yeah, we had a rough past, but get ready for the sequel. Get ready for the glorious comeback of our people. Oh yeah, rise up, all you warriors of love, all you answers to the prayers of our ancestors from above. I can feel it in my heart, can you feel it in your blood? I can hear the seventh fire calling us to wake up, wake up. All nations rise, rise up, 'cause now's your time. We don't have to hide anymore, 'cause now's the time. All nations rise, rise up, 'cause now's your time. We don't have to hide anymore, 'cause now's the time. With forgiveness as my bow and my prayers as my arrows, pull them back and let go. I watch them fly like sparrows. Have hope. Yeah, have hope. With compassion as my shield and faith down to my marrow, I will walk the pollen path even when it gets narrow. Yeah, yeah, I resurrect. Yes, you can bet that we seen the single mama raising children on the res. We seen domestic violence tear apart what we have left. We seen the alcohol take it all and leave us dead. We seen the children take their lives when they can't take the dread anymore. It's a war. Can't take the dread anymore. It's a war. No, we can't take the dread anymore. It's a war. No, we can't take the dread anymore. It's a war, but we've seen it all before. And now we know we can change it, 'cause that's why we were born. We know we are the ones that we have been waiting for. We are the ones Grandma has been praying for. So rise up, all you warriors of love, all you answers to the prayers of our ancestors from above. I can feel it in my heart, can you feel it in your blood? I can hear the seventh fire calling us to wake up, wake up. Pueblo hermoso, levántense, es nuestro tiempo. No tienes que esconderte más, ahora es nuestro tiempo. Mujer indígena, tú eres tan sagrada. Traigas medicina de tu suelo todavía. A pesar del abuso de tu cuerpo y tu tierra, respetamos tus ancestros y la suya cultura. Hombre indígena, tú eres honorable y yo veo la fuerza que todavía sobrevive. A pesar del abuso de tu raza venerable, yo respeto tus ritos, tus danzas, tus padres. Somos guerreros del amor y guerreros de la paz. Sí, no vamos a escondernos más. Somos guerreros del amor y guerreros de la paz. Sí, no vamos a escondernos más.
They say that history is written by the victors. But how can there be a victor when the war isn't over? The battle has only just begun, and Creator is sending His very best warriors. And this time, it isn't Indians versus cowboys. No, this time, it is all the beautiful races of humanity together on the same side, and we are fighting to replace our fear with love. And this time, bullets, arrows, and cannonballs won't save us. The only weapons that are useful in this battle are the weapons of truth, faith, and compassion.
Good morning and welcome to our Sunday service. My name is Sarah Lenzi and I am the minister of the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood. A sincere thank you to the wonderful team who helps bring these services to life every Sunday. For over a century, the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood has been gathering in community. This home for liberal faith and free thinking has held generations of seekers on their journeys, helping generations to deepen their understanding of themselves, of their place in existence, and of this world we share. Unitarian Universalism doesn't teach any one thing about God or the afterlife. Ours is a faith based on shared promises and a commitment to community. We do share a belief in the interdependent unity of all existence, and we share a belief that with love as our guide, we humans can create for each other a heaven on earth. Here in this community, we celebrate each person, whatever their gender, sexual orientation, age, education, history, race, ethnicity, economic status. We celebrate and embrace you on your spiritual journey. If this is your first time visiting one of our Sunday services, we are so glad you found us this morning, and welcome. If you'd like to learn more about us or about Unitarian Universalism in general, and if you'd like to get connected to our online communications, please fill out the Google form that will be dropped into the chat, or email our office at 113cottage@gmail.com, or visit our website at uuridgewood.org. Just a quick reminder that after every service, we have a virtual coffee hour. We go into small groups, into breakout rooms, and everyone is very friendly, I promise. So visitors, please know you are most welcome to stay with us for that. It's a great way to get to know people, even in this time of physical distance. I have one bigger announcement this morning. Recently, as some of you may have seen, in Glen Rock, someone painted anti-trans graffiti. UUs in general, and we here at USR, are committed to the liberation, freedom, and celebration of all people, no matter their gender or gender expression. We believe in each person's right to self-determination and to living their truth. This anti-trans hate speech comes just days before National Coming Out Day, which is today, a day that honors the journey and experience of LGBTQ+ folks. We at USR condemn such hate and prejudice in no uncertain terms. And as a continuation of our commitment to the safety and flourishing of LGBTQ folks, we will be starting an adult religious education course that will help each of us become part of a movement for liberation, beginning right in our own communities. That course, created by the Transforming Hearts Collective, is being offered jointly by USR and CUC in Paramus. Please plan to experience this with us. Details will be coming this week, so you'll get to know exactly how that's going to proceed. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Hi, we're the Dunnigans.
We light this chalice for the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the energy of action as we gather together in the circle of community.
Thank you, Abby, Chris, Claire, and Sam. Now I invite you to take a deep breath. Try to quiet your body and your mind, and take another deep breath. Listen to this sound as it calls you into community with others who long for peace, who desire justice, who offer love to this world. Breathe and listen. As I mentioned, today is National Coming Out Day. Tomorrow is a day many of us grew up calling Columbus Day, but that many of us now commit to calling Indigenous Peoples Day. And we are 24 days, if my math was right, away from what is possibly the most important election in the history of our nation. Here, this morning, mindful of the values we hold dear and the love we are committed to live by, we grapple with this place called America. We grapple with its history and its foundation with its present and its future. We grapple with this place we call home. This morning, we are offering you 3 different poems about America, 3 among thousands, if not tens of thousands, I'm sure. In 1867, Walt Whitman published in his work, Leaves of Grass, a poem that featured strongly in my own childhood. It was read every summer on the opening evening of my sleepaway camp, read by the camp director whose voice I can still hear whenever I read this poem. This poem is I Hear America Singing. It originally was published in 1860, but Whitman reworked it, as he did many of his poems, and republished it 7 years later after the Civil War had ended. Nearly 70 years later, one of the most famous Black poets of the Harlem Renaissance, Langston Hughes, wrote his poem, Let America Be America Again, while riding on a train from New York to visit his mother in Ohio. It first appeared in print in 1935 and regained popularity in 1992 when read by Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall at an American Bar Association event. Some 70 odd years after that, Allison Adele Hedge-Koch wrote her poem, America, I Sing You Back. It's a response to Whitman and to Hughes, though in truth to a different Hughes poem. And it is an exploration of this nation from the perspective of a woman of Indigenous heritage. We will listen to all 3 this morning as we explore together. First, I Hear America Singing by Walt Whitman. I hear America singing, the varied carols I hear, those of mechanics, each one singing his as it should be, blithe and strong. The carpenter singing his as he measures his plank or beam, the mason singing his as he makes ready for work or leaves off work, the boatman singing what belongs to him in his boat, the deckhand singing on the steamboat deck, the shoemaker singing as he sits on his bench, the hatter singing as he stands, the woodcutter's song, the plowboys on his way in the morning or at noon intermission or at sundown, the delicious singing of the mother or of the young wife at work or of the girl sewing or washing, each singing what belongs to him or her and to none else, the day what belongs to the day, at night, the party of young fellows, robust, friendly, singing with open mouths their strong, melodious songs. Whitman offers us a lovely picture of workaday Americans, laboring, raising children, singing, celebrating, each engaging in what is theirs and theirs alone. We start here with this poem of praise, a poem so entirely of its time in so many ways, and yet so elevating of the people in a way that was new. Also a poem that so thoroughly does not speak to America's history, to its diversity, and to its founding sins, but only to its blithe and strong and melodious vision of the future, one that for too long has excluded so many. As we move through this morning, challenging history through honest truth-telling, keep breathing. Stay open to the possibility of a range of emotional response. Stay open to the varied carols sung out by varied voices, ones that Whitman could not have even conceived of, but that now are available to all of us. Voices unheard for too long. Be here and listen.
Deep river, my home is over Jordan. Deep river, Lord, I wanna cross deep river, my home is over Jordan, deep river, Lord. I want to cross over into campground. Oh, don't you want to go to that gospel feast? That promised land where all is peace. Oh, deep river, Lord, I want to cross over into campground.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeannie Namitz. I am the Director of Religious Education. Imagine a journey through New Jersey to places connected with the Underground Railroad. Just what was the Underground Railroad? Well, children, it was not a physical railroad, but what it was a network providing assistance to people seeking freedom from slavery more than 160 years ago. These freedom seekers were helped most often by naturally sympathetic free Blacks, as well as by whites, church people, political abolitionists, men and women, as they traveled to freedom any way they could. Over the next few weeks, we will visit 9 places in New Jersey and hear the stories of people and organizations, both Black and white. Some were helpers and others caused harm to those freedom seekers. This initiative is part of our own journey towards reckoning with history and racial justice, and brings it close to home by focusing on our own state and involving our entire congregation. Besides the telling of these 9 stories, we will be exploring a meta story that as people of faith and justice, we must bring forward. As a predominantly white cultured congregation, we recognize that these stories are not our own. And so we are charged with the responsibility to tell them with great reverence and care. The Unitarian Universalist minister, Marjorie Bowens Wheatley, wrote, "Our first task in approaching another people, another culture, is to take off our shoes, for the place we are approaching is holy. Else we find ourselves treading on another's dream. More serious still, we may forget that God was there before our arrival." Faith communities have welcomed refugees into their safe havens from the beginning of the Old Testament. Cities of refuge to the times of slavery and the Underground Railroad, to the draft during the Vietnam War. Today, we will hear the story of Lawnside, formerly known as Snow Hill and Free Haven, a community of mostly free Black persons that welcomed freedom seekers with a safe stopover on the Underground Railroad. So today, as we approach what is holy in the telling of these stories, we invite you to listen with your heart.
Our introduction to the Underground Railroad comes from the Burlington County Underground Railroad Museum.
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. Over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my own grave and go home to my Lord and be free.
A lot of South Jersey is actually below the Mason-Dixon line, extended here in red. And in my mind, it always seemed part of the Old South. But through this project, I'm changing my view of my home state. It turns out, North Jersey enslaved far more blacks than South Jersey, and fought legal attempts at emancipation, so that only the 13th Amendment freed our last few black slaves, almost 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. Back in 1820, South Jersey's black population was 96% free. In North Jersey, almost half were enslaved. Our state's economic interests entwined with the southern states, and New Jersey voted against Abraham Lincoln both times he ran for president. So it was in southern Jersey that free and independent black communities developed. Our first stop in this journey is a small community in Camden County, the borough called Lawnside. I first heard about it in the WPA New Jersey Guidebook, which reported, since incorporation in 1926, Lawnside has had Negro officials exclusively, from mayor to dog catcher. Its 155 white residents have left the town management exclusively in the hands of their 1,224 Negro neighbors. Stores are almost exclusively owned and operated by Negroes, but 2 chain groceries employ Negro clerks under white managers. What is now Lawnside was settled by people of African descent beginning in the 1700s. Both free blacks and those who escaped enslavement were drawn to the community. Known as Free Haven and later Snow Hill, it was one of the historic black towns of New Jersey that served like the biblical cities of refuge. As we shall see in coming weeks, these communities welcomed and protected refugees into their safe havens. The first notices of Snow Hill in newspapers describe a religious camp meeting in 1820, and the formation in 1837 of the Snow Hill and Mount Zion Anti-Slavery Society. One of the noted early residents of Snow Hill was Jarena Lee, the first woman authorized to preach in the African Methodist Episcopal Church. In 1836, she was the first black woman to have an autobiography published in the U.S. A generation after Jarena Lee, the town's connection to the Underground Railroad was established through another black preacher, Peter Mott. Reverend Mott and his wife Elizabeth Ann were leaders in the Mount Pisgah African Methodist Episcopal Church, within what was then called Snow Hill. Built in 1845, his house was a station on the Underground Railroad and now houses a museum that welcomes visitors interested in learning more about Black history. Sometime when you're headed south on the New Jersey Turnpike, get off at exit 4 and get to know Lawnside. Now Kristen Plumley will help us to locate this first stop on our journey. Kristen?
Good morning, everyone. I am here to help us locate the towns that we will be discussing each week. Here is our map of New Jersey. And you at home were sent a link in the blast this week for a printable map. Does everybody have their map? I see Jeannie's holding hers up. Great. So we're going to start with just some reference points. Here's Trenton, our capital. Newark and Ridgewood is right up here. Today, I'm going to take our little marker and place it on Lawnside. And I invite all of you at home to mark your maps with an X or an O or whatever you want to mark it with. Color it in. There we have our first stop on the Underground Railroad.
Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great, strong land of love where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you who mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I am the young man full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need, of work the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. I am the farmer, bondsman to the soil. I am the worker, sold to the machine. I am the Negro, servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, mean, hungry, yet today despite the dream, beaten, yet today, oh pioneers, I'm the man who never got ahead, the poorest worker bartered through the years. Yet I'm the one who dreamt our basic dream in the old world while still a serf of kings, that dreamt a dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even now its mighty daring sings in every furrow turned, in every brick and stone that's made America the land it has become. For I'm the one who sailed those early seas in search of what I meant to be my home. I'm the one who left dark Ireland's shore and England's grassy lay and Poland's plain, and torn from Black Africa's strand I came to build a homeland of the free. The free? Who said the free? Not me. Surely not me. The millions on relief today, the millions shot down when we strike, the millions who have nothing for our pay. For all the dreams we've dreamed and all the songs we have kids who have nothing for our pay except a dream that's almost dead today. Let America be America again. The dream that never has been yet, and yet must be the dream where every man is free. The land that's mine, the poor man's, Indians, Negroes, me, who made America, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain must bring back our mighty dream again. Sure, call me any ugly name you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain. From those who live like leeches on the people's lives, we must bring back our land again, America. Oh yes, I say it plain. America never was America to me, and yet I swear this oath, America will be. Out of the wreck and ruin of our gangster death, the rape and rot and graft of stealth and lies, we the people must redeem the land, the plants, the mines, the rivers, the mountains, the endless plain, all stretch of these great green states, and make America again. Langston Hughes.
Good morning. I'm Helen Matiso Ayers, a member of the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood, and I add my welcome to you all. It's wonderful to be celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day and National Coming Out Day with all of you. Every Sunday that we gather, we ask for an offering to support the work of this congregation. Our mission statement is to grow in mind and spirit, to act with love for justice, and to transform ourselves and the world. This congregational year will be a challenging one as we work to support each other through the continued pandemic, as our nation faces challenges in our political sphere, and as we all look toward uncertain futures. We are truly grateful for the way you have shown up and continue to show up with your hearts and minds open, with your helping hands ready, and with your generous offerings, ensuring that the mission and work of this congregation can continue. We know that in this moment, there are among us those who are unable to financially support the congregation and instead find themselves in need of support. If that is you, please let us help. Reach out to Reverend Sarah, the office, the caring teams, or any member of the board, including myself. Now on your screen, you will see instructions on how to give. So many options. Please give generously. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Good morning. I'm Ron Levy, Music Director of the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood. On the website Native Voice One, Greg McVicker, host and producer of the series Undercurrents, says the following. Rock and roll was born in the United States, and it makes sense that some of its forerunners would be the original Americans. The people are the land, and the music comes from the land. Iconic artists like Mildred Bailey, Jimi Hendrix, and Redbone were among the first to express this Native perspective through popular music. One often hears the question, why does today's Native American music sound so much like other popular styles? The answer would have to be that today's Native peoples are full participants in modern culture and engage in the same cultural give and take as everyone else. This morning, it is my pleasure to verbally introduce three artists who exemplify this type of music making. Navajo Diné poet and musician Lila June studied human ecology at Stanford University and indigenous education at the University of Mexico. Her songs deliver truth eloquently, informed by a sweetness and considerable creativity. Ray Zaragoza is a Japanese-American Mexican indigenous woman, a forceful and compelling artist who crafts music to fight for, represent, and celebrate women and those who have been left out of the spotlight. She is known for feminist anthems and indomitable protest folk rock. Nako Bear was born into an impoverished family of Apache, Puerto Rican, and Filipino background. His opportunities were dramatically improved by his adoptive parents. Nako originally studied classical piano. His subsequent mastery of guitar, folk music, and songwriting served him well on his path to self-discovery and personal expression. His band, Nako and Medicine for the People, is known for their galvanic energy and has garnered an avid fan base. Thank you.
I've been thinking about the news. Daddy leaves it on all day through. I've been thinking about the wars. And to be honest, I can't take it anymore. I hear you every day, the awful words you say. But hate can't be the face of the American dream. I've been thinking about my life and how one day I want to be a mother and a wife. I've been scared of that thought too. In a world of struggle, what are we gonna do? I hear you every day saying it's gonna be okay. But hate can't be the face of the American dream. And I know we've got a long way to go, but I've got to believe that change is a choice and it can start with me. And I've been thinking about our mother and how they took her away from her people, put her in a boarding school, away from her brother, sister, and culture. I can hear her every night saying we've gotta make this right, 'cause hate can't be the face of the American dream. And I know we've got a long way to go, but I've got to believe that change is a choice and it can start with me. And change is a choice and it can start with me. And change is a choice and it can start with you.
Every Sunday, we take time to sit in the quiet with each other, recognizing how hard this quiet is to find. We take time to breathe deeply, to hear the calm rhythm of our hearts. In this quiet, we open ourselves to new truths, to recommit ourselves to the important work of justice, and to reflect on all those who loved us into being. I invite you into that quiet now. Breathe deeply. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Feel the chair beneath you. Feel any place of tension and relax those muscles. This morning, we breathe, deeply aware of the persistent anxiety of everyone we interact with in these uncertain times. We are grateful to those on whom we count to get us through each day, a family member or a friend to whom we can confess our anxieties and who will love us in that angst. We are grateful for those who are working so hard to make sure that we all count, whether it be that our democratic voices count in these upcoming elections, or those who count the spread of the virus so that we can all make informed health decisions. We are grateful for those in the medical community on whom we can count to care for all of us. Let us hold them all in our hearts in this silence. Today also, we listen with humility and gratitude to the voices of Indigenous people who recount their stories. With unease, we reflect on our country's history of injustice to the Indigenous people who populated this land with their dreams and children, society and soil. Today we mourn those lives and societies lost or kettled into reservations far from their homes by listening to their voices. Today we also recognize National Coming Out Day, a time to celebrate those of us who have gone through a continuous process of revealing our own most being, and those of us who struggle with the pain of hiding ourselves from an all too often hostile world. No matter who you love, what gender you are, or how you express that gender, may you find safety and community to live your truth. We listen to these voices and recommit ourselves to turning the world's injustice into justice. May we find the time each day to breathe deeply and to commit ourselves to these virtues. So may it be.
Please join in singing our hymn, Meditation on Breathing. You can sing any one of the three parts. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I breathe out. When I breathe out, I breathe out. When I breathe in, I breathe out. When I breathe out, I breathe out. When I breathe in, I breathe out. When I breathe out, I breathe out. When I breathe in, I breathe out. When I breathe out, I breathe out. When I breathe in, I breathe out. When I breathe out, I breathe
When I breathe out, I breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out.
America, I sing you back. America, I sing back what sung you in, sing back the moment you cherish breath, sing you home and to yourself, and back to reason. Before America began to sing, I sung her to sleep, held her cradleboard, wept her into day. My song gave her creation, prepared her delivery, held her severed cord beautifully beaded. My song helped her stand, held her hand for first steps, nourished her very being, fed her, placed her 3 sisters strong. My song comforted her as she battled my reason, broke my long-held footing sure as any child might do. As she pushed herself away, forced me to remove myself. As I cried this country, my song grew roses in each tear's fall. My blood-veined rivers painted pipestone quarries, circled canyons while she made herself maiden fine. But here I am, here I am, here I remain high on each and every peak, carefully rumbling her great underbelly, prepared to pour forth, singing. And sing again I will, as I have always done. Never silenced unless in the company of strangers, singing the stoic face, polite repose, polite while dancing deep inside, polite, mother of her world, sister of myself. When my song sings loud again, when I call her back to cradle, call her to peer into waters, to behold herself in dark and light, day and night, call her to sing along, call her to mature, to envision. Then she will quake herself over. My song will make it so. When she grows far past her self-considered purpose, I will sing her back, I will sing, oh, I will, I do. America, I sing back what sung you in.
And this song is for y'all, for all your help in making this movement move so fluently and so strongly. I have come to build a bridge, so come let's build. Build, build, build. I have come to build a bridge, so come let's build. Build, build, build. I have come to build a bridge, so come let's build. Build, build, build. I have come to build a bridge, so come let's build. So prepare me for a long battle. I am a my witness, so crystal rollers. I drop the hatchet, you won't forget this. Said, prepare me for a long battle. I am my witness, so crystal rollers. I drop the hatchet, you won't forget this. Said, mine eyes have seen nothing but trouble. You must make peace with them God and the devils. I can be rude, boy, I am not subtle. I tend to sneak in and burst out them bubbles. We are the ones even ready to rumble. I torch my enemies out with the candle. Music is the weapon, make empires crumble. We bring them bankers and wealthy to tremble. What we know is what we're owed. Can't be too careful, shoot flaming arrows, sitting and wicked, burning them bridges. Said what we know is what we owe. Can't be too careful, shoot flaming arrows, hitting them wicked, burning them bridges. Said the misfits, master society. We struggle with housing, drugs, and sobriety. We're not from here, but born here respectively. Immigrated cause America rapes my country. My bridge ain't built with no white man money. I'm on Indian time, you know you cannot rush me. I can be vicious, malicious, and ugly. A danger to darkness, you better run quickly. What we know is what we're owed. Can't be too careful, shoot flaming arrows, hitting them wicked, burning them bridges. Said what we know is what we owe. Can't be too careful, shoot flaming arrows, hitting them wicked, burning them bridges. Said I've come to build a bridge, so come let's build. Build, 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 I've come to build a bridge, so come let's build. Build, 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 I have come to build a bridge, so come let's build. Build, 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 I have come to build a bridge, so come let's life is pretty crazy, but 9 months old. Yeah, mama gave me at 14 years old. Said, I don't give a shit, grandmother, she was so bored. Son of the rapist, mama body got sold. Not to say papa didn't have a good soul, cause he did give me the anger, I was born so cold. Raised white Christian in a white neighborhood. There was no bridges for me and my indigenous blood. Said I confused, identity crisis. Indigenous, my story is so timeless. Now I'm building bridges so that it would all make sense. Why I'm here with the music so passionate. Gotta ride hard or die try use it. I had the rain crash, storm, white lightning. I am relentless, stop at nothing. I'm out Coyote Bridges building. I rock the one feather on me neck, said, must stay humble, never be like chief headdress. Ain't a flag upside down, I'm in distress. Never take no title at the deepest respect. Welcome to Aquarius, son, you're a legend. Guardian of the gate, escape number 7. I tame the beast and I ride the dragon. I reincarnate as a wild stallion. What we know is what we're out. Can't be too careful, shoot flaming arrows, hitting them wicked, burning them bridges. Said what we know is what we owe. Can't be too careful, shoot flaming arrows, hitting them wicked, burning them bridges. Said I'll come to build a bridge, so come let's build. I've come to build a bridge, so come let's build. Come to build a bridge, so come let's build. I have come to build a bridge, so come let's build. Build. Said my people, my earth, my country, my heart, in service forever, a mission to better. My passion, my fist, my heart, open it, reclaim, recover, protect, clean water. Said I've come to live in peace, so come let's live. Live, 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 I have come to live in peace, so come let's live. So come, let's live, 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 live. I have come to live in peace. So come, let's live.
Each Sunday, I say the words, "For over a century, the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood has been gathering in community." For over a century, the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood has been gathering on native land. We don't recognize that at our congregation, not regularly. At some events, even at General Assembly, our national gathering of Unitarian Universalists, folks engage in what is called a land acknowledgement. It's a statement honoring that the land on which we gather was once land that belonged to others. And it was land that was invaded and colonized and whose native peoples were killed, pushed out, or forced violently to assimilate. Although you who gather now with us or who watch our services later from far away are scattered across the country, the land on which the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood has gathered for more than a century is Lenape land. The Lenape lived throughout New Jersey, out onto Long Island, north toward Albany, and into Pennsylvania and Delaware. There were sub-tribes. They were matrilineal and matrilocal throughout the area occupied by the Lenape. The people spoke different dialects in different parts of this large area, and the language was an Algonquin language. The word Lenape translates roughly to the people or the original people. The Lenape, like all of the native peoples of this land, were the descendants of peoples that lived in this place now called North and South America for 15,000 years and likely even more than that. Hundreds of generations of people had lived, learned, fought, hunted, tended, made peace, harvested, and thrived on this land. The earliest interaction between the Lenape and the Europeans is thought to be in 1524, when Verrazano appeared in the lower New York Bay. As the 16th century wore on, trade occurred between the Lenape and the Dutch fur traders. The next 200 years saw wars on this soil, widespread deaths from epidemics brought by the Europeans, treaties that were crafted from the perspective of European culture and kinship rules that resulted in the loss of land and the expansion of colonization, and missionizing that forced assimilation. In 1758, the Treaty of Easton was signed by the Lenape and the descendants of European colonizers, and that treaty forced the Lenape from their ancestral land out of New York and New Jersey, further into Pennsylvania, Ohio, and beyond that. In the 19th century, as American treatment of Indigenous peoples continued in its vein of forced assimilation through children stolen and put in westernizing boarding schools, through genocide and through forced relocation, the Lenape ended up largely on reservation land in Oklahoma, Wisconsin, and Ontario, Canada. Even into the 21st century, the Lenape have had to fight for federal recognition of their tribe. Invasion, colonization, and displacement over 1,500 miles from their home. Beneath the ground on which we gather, under the soil across this entire nation, is the buried legacy of history, families, societies, people with inherent worth and dignity whose lives and stories were stolen. The Unitarian Universalist Association, at its 2012 General Assembly, repudiated what is called the doctrine of discovery. This theological premise arose from a series of papal bulls in the 1400s. One, in 1453, justified the enslavement of African people. Another, in 1493, declared invasion acceptable so long as the land wasn't inhabited by Christians. So no Christian presence meant it was available for discovery. These bases for these bulls, the basis for these bulls was a belief that the humanity and thus the rights of non-Christians didn't exist. The popes were determining who was human based on their religion and their race, and they were justifying conquest and conversion. This religiously based justification for land theft continued, and centuries later, in the 19th century, here in America develops the notion of manifest destiny. The idea, promulgated by Chief Justice John Marshall in a Supreme Court decision in 1823, was that it was not only the right, but the call of white Americans to move west, pushing and limiting and denying the indigenous people space on their own native lands. Chief Justice Marshall used 400-year-old Catholic decrees to explain that Christian Europeans had established dominance over America during the Age of Discovery, and that with that discovery, American Indians had lost their rights to their land and to sovereignty. The doctrine of discovery and manifest destiny carried with them explicitly a deep sense of the supremacy of European Christians, and they justified the denigration and genocide of people who didn't fit into that category. The indigenous people of this land and those who were abducted here to provide labor all were considered without rights, less than human. This country, America, was founded in violence. Our history is a history of colonization, of enslavement, of death, and a reckoning with that history, with our treatment of indigenous peoples, of Black folks, of others of color who for centuries have been deemed other or lesser. A reckoning with that history has been a long time coming, and in truth has yet to really come. Walt Whitman's poem that began our service offers a lovely pastoral sort of vision of America. Hiding behind his words are the Civil War that had recently ended when his revised poem was republished. The Civil War that attempted to right some of the wrongs written into the beginnings of this nation. But Langston Hughes's poem tells us over and over those wrongs weren't actually righted. That vision of America that we read in the words of the Declaration and the Constitution, that America has never been. It has yet to be. For centuries, America has not lived into its own potential wholeness because it has categorically denied the wholeness of indigenous peoples and of Black people. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. The Emancipation Proclamation may have officially ended slavery, but it continued, in fact, all over the country for years, and then for decades and centuries, it continued in mutated forms through segregation, the prison system, and all manner of systemic oppressions. This country was not just born in blood, it has grown up trampling on the rights and lives of people of color. Hughes reminds us when he writes, "Who made America? Whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain? Sure, call me any ugly name you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain. From those who live like leeches on the people's lives, we must take back our land again." Over 70 years ago, Hughes was lifting up the truth that we still must proclaim to this day, that America has not reached its ideals. It has not become what it can be. America has remained entrenched in a quest for progress and discovery led by greed that cares very little for who is harmed in the process. And as we stand on the precipice of our every 4 years declaration of what this nation is and what we plan to become, it is obvious that we continue to fail to be the best of what was dreamed of here hundreds of years ago and what is dreamed about this place across the world today. We continue to fail in our quest for equality, liberation, and freedom. We are living through anxious times. but they are also hopeful times, because not only are hard truths being spoken, as they have been spoken for generations, but now more and more people are actually listening to the voices crying out for change. Tomorrow was traditionally known as Columbus Day. Though that day was celebrated for the first time hundreds of years ago, it's really a 20th century invention pushed by the Knights of Columbus to bring Italian culture into the mainstream, an attempt to bring Italian immigrants into more complete whiteness and to make them welcome. I am of Italian descent, but I reject the celebration of the beginning of an invasion that cost the lives of millions of people. Tomorrow is Indigenous Peoples Day. Since 1990, many states across the nation have recreated this day, reclaimed it. It's an opportunity to share the narrative of this country reclaimed from centuries of myth-telling. It's a day that celebrates not the beginning of an invasion, but celebrates the people that had lived and thrived here and who for centuries have determinedly resisted extinction at the hands of those invaders. Alison Adele Hedge Koch, a contemporary poet whose biography declares her of mixed heritage, including Indigenous American heritage, tells the story of America in her poem, America, I Sing You Back. It is a poem that recognizes the violence visited on Koch's ancestors, but also the power in their survival and continued fight for the wholeness and integrity of this land and their people. She writes, as she pushed herself away, forced me to remove myself. As I cried this country, my song grew roses in each tear's fall. My blood veined rivers, painted pipestone quarries, circled canyons, which she made herself maiden fine. But here I am, here I am. Here I remain high on each and every peak, and sing again I will as I have always done. Koch sees possibility, hope, a future. She hasn't given up. For centuries, those in power have suppressed the voices of Indigenous people, of people of color, of women, of anyone who didn't fall into that category of Christian European whiteness. Those voices never stopped speaking, never stopped singing, even when it was forced into the shadows. And now those voices need to be amplified, loud and in any and every way we can. The truth is that America was stolen from the start. Racism is woven into the fabric of this country. Prejudice against non-white, non-Christians is alive and well in 21st century America. And the truth is that violence and fear that feed racism and prejudice have fed the development of this country from the beginning, and they feed now the current state we find ourselves in. Resisting an extremist religious appointment to the Supreme Court, resisting the continued normalization of oppression and prejudice. The truth is the violence and anger and fear, the prejudice and oppression are all part of a larger story of the American idealization of individualism, the condemnation of vulnerability, the valorization of being right over being just, and a refusal to acknowledge our shared humanity. At its worst, it is a story of brokenness, of wholeness denied to all. I realize that recognizing those truths can be painful. If we grew up with narratives of exploring heroes and our own stories of immigrating ancestors just trying to make it good here. But it's really important to tell the truth, because the truth liberates and frees. Because telling the truth is a step toward change and toward the hope and the future that Koch speaks of. After repudiating the doctrine of discovery in 2012, the Unitarian Universalist Association at the General Assembly in 2020, so just this past spring, adopted an action of immediate witness. I'm going to give you a link so you can read it if you have not seen it. This statement, this action of immediate witness, calls on all of us Unitarian Universalists to stand in solidarity with Indigenous peoples struggling to preserve their lands, waters, sacred sites, and sovereignty. It calls on us to work locally, statewide, nationally on public policy that is decolonizing, including the removal of racist monuments, the establishment of Indigenous Peoples Day, and the rewriting of our history textbooks so that children learn the truth. It calls on us to acknowledge the Indigenous people on whose land we now gather, and to find ways to act in solidarity with or to partner with those Indigenous peoples. It calls on us to re-examine the stories we tell about our own past. It isn't enough to acknowledge the land on which we gather, though it is a start. It isn't enough to acknowledge the horrors of centuries visited on Black people in this country, though it is a start. It isn't enough to tell the truth, though it is a start. It isn't enough to believe in the wholeness of all people and to wish for the wholeness of this nation, though it is a start. We must also be part of making change. Challenge yourself to read the work of and listen to the music of people whose experience and heritage is different from yours, every day if you can. Challenge yourself to move through your physical world, however limited it might be right now because of the pandemic, remembering the truth that these lands were taken. Challenge yourself to consider how you and how we as a community might live more in line with our deepest values of compassion, kindness, love, and liberation. These are the challenges I put to you for tomorrow, Indigenous Peoples Day, but for every day. Recognize that we together gather on Lenape land and that we have a role to play in the future liberation and celebration of all peoples.
Please join in singing our hymn, Spirit of Life. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
May each of us be filled with the spirit of love, recommitting every day to being part of a movement toward honesty, toward life, and toward wholeness. So may it be.
Please join us in the words for extinguishing the chalice. They can be found on your screen. We extinguish the flame, but may the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the energy of action burn bright in our hearts until we are together again.